This is a Toshiba Pocket PC Personal Digital Assistant, or PDA, from the year 2002. I want to have a close look at the hardware, including the internals, and a look at the first graphics accelerator chip for handheld devices. Then have a look at the software from the Windows Mobile operating system and various apps to finding out, can this run Linux? For a handheld computer in 2002, this was a high-spec device, running an Intel XScale ARM CPU at 400 MHz, also sporting the first graphics accelerator for handhelds, the ATi Imageon 100, 64 MB of RAM and 32 MB of ROM for the operating system, a 240 by 320 65K color screen. This was at a time when the majority of phones being sold still had black and white screens. Colour screen phones were just starting to reach the market, but were very much in the minority. The iPod was only 1 year old at this point, and itself had a black and white screen, and did so for many years to come. The nearest competitor was the Palm M515, running Palm OS 4, with a 33 MHz CPU, 16 MB of RAM, and a 160 by 160 colour screen. I need to make a battery since I don't have one for this unit. I have found a power adapter that fits at the correct voltage, however this unit won't turn on without a battery fitted and detected by the charging hardware. When I plug it in, I get an LED coming on and no power, because of course there's no battery. So first a teardown. Not bad. Now, alright, so the back's coming off. Stylus. There we go. I've got a Phillips under there. Okay, back is off. It's still a bit stubborn even after loosening that screw. Okay. Now, yep, the board is already wanting, and this one down here, disconnect. So that's a really nice densely packed board, especially for the time. It had a lot of technology integrated onto it. First of all, there's the Intel XScale CPU that runs at 400 MHz, and below that we have Samsung, and that one looks like it would be the same or similar, so that would be the RAM. And here, these two, they would be the flash memory, because they have on them numbers that are basically software versions. There's the ATi Imageon 100, the first ever graphics accelerator for a handheld unit, and this is the first ever handheld unit to have a graphics accelerator chip in it. Okay, over here we have the headphone socket, so that could well be audio amplification. There's the infrared module and the soft reset switch, of course the interboard connector. Right, now let's have a look at this area here. So this looks like power circuitry, and here we have oscillation right next to the CPU, and this chip here, I'm going to guess that's something to do with power or charging. So up here we have a radio antenna, and on the other side that leads to, in this case it's a Bluetooth module, because this is the Bluetooth version of this PDA. There was also a Wi-Fi version of this Pocket PC, and this was actually the first handheld device to include an inbuilt Wi-Fi module. But in this case it's Bluetooth, so let's have a look. There we go. You can have a look. It's actually a Toshiba brand Bluetooth module. Got another interboard connector here. Okay, a bit of a look at the screen module. And have a look at that ribbon cable. It's a nice dense bit of ribbon there. Interboard connector, and there's our power input. I'm pretty sure that counts as negative, so center terminal would be positive. So we do have a negative there, and we've got three other points. So one of them's positive, but the other two are some sort of control. I'm going to get this together and see if I can get it to turn on. Okay, inside ribbon first. Okay, back on. What the hell? Oh, I broke a clip of some sort. So I'm going to build a battery to get this working. And to do that, I have a lithium-ion cell. I'm going to solder some wires directly onto this battery. Let's get some solder down directly onto the terminal. Okay, we've got wires on our battery. Now, we've got to find which ones are going to connect. First, I'm going to start with the negative terminal, which we have worked out is here. Okay, let's connect more cables. Green. There it goes. It's powering up. We only needed 3 of the 4 battery contacts. So plus, negative, and probably temperature sense. So I'm going to build a way to connect these wires up to their respective terminals. And the solution I found is, I just got a piece of plastic here, and I'm going to use some copper strips. Right, so I've got double-sided tape on there to hold the copper in place. So, okay, I've got the wires soldered to the copper strips, and the copper strips are fairly well attached to the plastic. So, let's do a test before we finish putting it together. So that should line up. Seems to line up okay with the 3 terminals that work. Okay, I've got hot glue in there holding the battery to the connector. Let's haphazardly put the back cover on for the battery. A little bit of hot glue, nice and messy. There we go. Not the greatest job, but that'll work. Okay, it's working, it's booting up, and we have a software version. There we go, we've got starting up. Tap the screen. Aligning the screen. And now we have to pass a test. Yep, this is the old test to get in. Okay, next. Fine. Done. Right, we're in Windows. Now the first thing you may notice is that the screen looks fairly murky and dim, and that's because this is a transflective LCD. When used in a dark environment, there is a backlight, or as we can see here in the settings menu, it's called a front light. And the light appears to sort of illuminate from just above the LCD rather than from behind. So not only does this LCD itself have rather poor viewing angles, but the illumination itself looks fairly bizarre from various angles. This is because the display has been designed to also work in bright environments such as outdoor sunlight, with only external light illuminating the display. In fairness, our eyes tend to be a lot more forgiving than a camera, and viewed straight on, this display is not so bad. Before we delve into adding programs, I'm going to add some additional storage. First, the SD card slot. Having travelled back to the year 2002, I decided to pick up the biggest SD card available at the time, the 256 megabyte SanDisk, at the competitive price of $199. There we go, into the slot it goes. This Pocket PC has a second expansion slot for compact flash cards. While I would like to add something like a GPS compact flash card, I don't have one of those. Instead, I'm going to expand the storage even further. this time with a 4GB Hitachi Microdrive. I did have to pop over to the year 2003 to get this one, since that's the year this size was released, for an eye-watering $499. This huge amount of space in a compact flash card at the time was achieved not with flash memory, but instead with a mechanical hard drive. I have done a teardown of one of these drive mechanisms in a previous video. Now, to load some software. First we're going to try using the dock, which is a USB device. We're going to need a computer, so let's pair this Toshiba PDA with a Toshiba laptop. And you may recognize this laptop from my previous video in which I restored it and installed Windows 98. Okay, let's give it some power using the adapter plug that I made and USB 1.1. Okay, the first thing we're going to install, e740, is Microsoft ActiveSync version 3.8, which is the last version compatible with Windows 98. Set up Microsoft ActiveSync 3.8. Yeah, we've got enough space. Okay, we've restarted, and ActiveSync is telling us connect the cable to the PC, turn on the device, place it in its cradle. Oh, there we go. Connecting. Okay, we're connected with our Pocket PC. It's doing a synchronization. Done. Okay, I'll now start loading software onto this and we'll see what comes out. The first thing I want to test is the ATi graphics accelerator chip. This is not a 3D accelerator, but rather a 2D accelerator, including things like MPEG-4 video decoding done in hardware. So I'm now installing a video player that should play MPEG-4 using hardware acceleration. And there we go. It asks us if we want to install the e740 ATi optimization, so it knows about the hardware. Okay, let's load the software. It's pouët MVP, pouët Music Video Player, I think. And we'll bring up a file. Okay, let's play that. The frame rate is it's a little jerky, but it does work. This is certainly watchable. The resolution of the video file is 288 by 218, so very low res, and it's about 400 kilobits per second bitrate.
I thought she was off the cigarettes. Now apparently she's back on the cigarettes, and she's on them hard too.
She had the idea that maybe me and her could quit together, and it's kind of like a good father-daughter thing, so we're going to quit together. We're going to go on the patch. I only got one patch left, okay, so I'll have to give you half.
You took the last patch?
The other thing this ATi chip can do is that it has JPEG hardware decoding. Before we look further into software, I have one more piece of hardware that I want to have a look at, the expansion pack. And so this gives us a USB port, passes through power and the system connector, and we also have VGA output. Let's attach the accessory. Even with the expansion pack attached, it should still go into the dock. Yep, it does. Okay, so for screen mirroring, we need a package called Presentation Pack. There we go. So I ran a test on my VGA monitor and it does work. However, the screen seems to switch and flicker to black quite often, every few seconds. I have tried a few VGA cables, but no change there. And as far as I'm aware, this VGA monitor does work because I do use it on another computer. So I'm not really sure what's going on there. Alright, let's try some more software. So Pocket PC, and alright, we'll go for Microsoft Games Pack. Let's see what that's like. Okay, let's have a look at something. Fire drill. Interesting title screen. Oops. level 1. Okay. Some sort of top-down, game. Very odd. I'm not really sure what I'm doing. No idea what's going on. I died. Interesting little game. Let's see what else there is. Minesweeper, sink the ships, so battleship, space defense. Ah. Right. Missile command. Well, it could be a little bit more challenging, but I guess it's still early in the game. Come on. Come on, let's be challenging now. Nope, still too easy. Efficiency rating. Right, now we'll try Tomb Raider. Right, so this game we have to go switch to landscape. Oh, we've got to wait for that. Oh no, it goes pretty quick. There we go. Alright, we're in Tomb Raider. So it looks like we have on-screen controls, and we have... Oof. Well, it is Tomb Raider. So who would have... So it's a native Pocket PC port of Tomb Raider. The controls are, well, they're sort of terrible. It's just really too hard to control with this particular device. I've got no idea what's going on. Oh, there we go. Okay. So I think let's go somewhere. Oh, those arrows might be hitting me. Let's just ignore them and keep running. Well, uh-oh, lost control again. No, the controls are just too hard on this thing. I don't even know where I am. We can see from Tomb Raider that this was fairly powerful hardware for a handheld device in 2002. With fairly good performance on a 3D game, despite the ATi graphics chip not even having 3D acceleration. In general, however, the software was lacking in those early days. Initially, the drivers for the ATi graphics accelerator chip were not even ready when the e740 was released. It took months before software upgrades were able to take full advantage of the ATi graphics. Once the drivers were available, software developers then had to support the graphics capabilities by writing their software to take advantage of that. In the end, very few actually did that. Also, Microsoft themselves admitted that the Pocket PC 2002 operating system was not even optimized for the Intel XScale CPU. Many of the advantages of the new XScale were not available, resulting in much lower performance. So it's time to ditch Microsoft and run Linux. And there is a port of Linux for the e740. Back in 2002, devices tended to be more open. The e740 was no exception. Toshiba had an internal method to load ROMs onto the compact flash card and then boot the Pocket PC into a ROM update mode. Instead of updating the ROM or bootloader, I'll be running Linux, installing it onto the compact flash card. A big shout out to Spyro for being the main developer bringing Linux to the e740. Okay, I've installed Linux onto my hard drive, so we'll get that in the machine and let's boot it up. So the procedure is, we go to Programs, File Explorer, Storage Card. First thing we have to do is copy the Palms file to My Documents. Okay, now we have to soft reboot. Okay, we're all set up now. So we go back to File Explorer. The Palms file is in My Documents. So we go to Compact Flash Card and we boot into Linux. Let's let that go, see what happens. There it goes. Okay, we have a screen calibration utility. Now we have the start of what looks like a GUI. We have a pointer, something's happening. It's been going for... Oh, there we go. We have new user set up. Alright, let's see if we can get a name in return. Okay, we're still booting. We have a desktop. Alright, let's have a look around. We've got utilities. If I can get in there. There we go. Record memo, text editor, root shell, file manager. Okay. Settings. Okay, we're in settings. I'll have a look at storage information. That could be interesting. Right, well, storage information seems to... Oh no, it is now working. It's a little bit slow. Probably because I have so much storage in here and it's just not used to it. Why would anyone have this much storage in a device from 2002? Okay, well maybe I can exit. Oh, I just saw it. Alright, so the storage is telling us about the operating system itself rather than the media I've got in here. Okay, well let's exit this. Okay, let's go out and into games. Tetris. Okay, new game. Start. Alright, we've got Tetris and none of the buttons work. Okay, well, I won't play that. Alright, we're in the fractal generator. Oh, that's pretty cool. Well, that's Linux running on the Toshiba e740 Pocket PC. It's certainly an interesting alternative to Windows Mobile 2002 that normally runs on here. So I might finish up here and get out of this and find a demo. So there we have it. There's the Toshiba e740 Pocket PC. Now we'll leave it here running a bit of this scene demo. That's it. Done.